Aloha nui kako. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition from Live from NOIRLab at Hawai'i. My name is Alyssa Leinani Lozi, and I will be your host for today's show. And today we're talking about something that is really near and dear to my heart. It is Gemini Observatory's flagship outreach program, Journey Through the Universe. And we have a few different experts here today to talk to us about this program. Some of these people having been with Journey Through the Universe since its inception 17 years ago. So unfortunately, Janice Harvey, who is the Hawaii Education and Engagement Manager for NSF's NOIRLab, could not make it today, but we still have Esther Kanehailua, who is the Hilo Waiakea Complex Area Superintendent of the Department of Education, and Angelique Ebers, one of our volunteer astronomy educators, who is a software operations group lead for NSF's NOIRLab. We also have joining us Jamika Marshall as our moderator.
Okay, so as Alyssa was saying, I am going to be your moderator today. My name is Jamika Marshall, and we, again, are very pleased to have all of you here today. Again, today's topic is going to be Journey Through the Universe, and we had, I think, a little bit of freezing here just a little bit ago, but Alyssa will be right back. But as she was saying, oh, and she is here, but as she was saying, we have amazing guests for you, and since she is here, I will let her continue.
I'm actually not sure where it cut me off, Jamika, so if you want to sort of fill in a little bit, I'm going to go ahead and put my screen back up. Yes, we are having a very windy time here on Hawaii Island today, so our connections are getting knocked loose a little bit on the whole island, I think.
Yes, they definitely are. So those of you in our YouTube audience who are not here on the Big Island of Hawaii, we appreciate your patience so much. And so, yes, we have, in addition to our DOE guests, we also have with us, as she was saying, Angelique Ebers of NSF's NOIRLab, our software lead, I believe, and also Peter Michaud. Alyssa, give us a little bit of intro about Peter.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so Peter Michaud is the Education and Engagement Manager for all of NSF's NOIRLab. And he has also definitely been here since the beginning of Journey Through the Universe. So he will be talking about how it all got started. Okay, and with, I think, the introductions complete now, I will move on to our intro slide about Gemini Observatory. So if you're familiar with Live from NOIRLab, you've heard this a bunch of times, but we always like to remind you that Gemini Observatory is named, of course, after the Gemini constellation, the twins, because it consists of two identical telescopes, Gemini North on Mauna Kea on Hawaii Island, and Gemini South in Cerro Cochon on Chile. Gemini also is funded by a consortium of international participants. So in addition to the United States, we are funded by Canada, Chile, Brazil, Argentina, and Korea. Okay. Now we can jump into talking about Journey Through the Universe. So Journey Through the Universe this year in 2021 is entering its 17th year of hosting this program on Hawaii Island. So 17 years is certainly a long time, longer than I have been with Gemini Observatory, but it's been really great to come into something so amazing. And it's definitely part of why I love Gemini Observatory and continue to work here. So what is Journey Through the Universe? It is a year-long program that consists of teacher workshops, classroom visits, Star Lab planetarium shows, career panels, and public events. But most notably, it consists of Journey Week, which is in the beginning of March, where we send out 82 volunteer astronomy educators. So this is any staff from the Mauna Kea observatories who go into the classrooms on Hawaii Island and share their passion for science and astronomy. So we usually have about 300 classrooms visited in that 1 week and over 8,000 students. So it's a very, very big project. Here, of course, are some of our wonderful pictures of our educators in the classroom. You can see that we really try to encourage all of our astronomy educators, these volunteer teachers, if you will, to engage our students with hands-on activities, with interactive learning. And with the new next generation science standards, even more so, we want our educators to inspire inquiry in our local students. Here's a few more pictures of the different things that we do in the classroom. I think if Peter Michaud wants to talk a little bit about that very first picture there, that is actually him in that top part with the student.
Sure, Alyssa, thank you. Because of COVID, our programs are very different now, obviously, this year. But one of my favorite things to do with students is to show how we clean the optics on a big telescope like Gemini. Our mirror is 8 meters across. So we bring a slightly smaller mirror into the classroom and we clean it off with carbon dioxide snow. It's a lot of fun making snowstorms in the classroom with local kids. And so, those types of activities are critical to Journey and engaging students and doing hands-on learning.
Thank you, Peter. Yes, and you might notice from these pictures as well that we try to go to every grade level. So that's kindergarten up through 12th grade. We have presenters or career panels going into the classroom to engage students in a hands-on astronomy learning environment. Here's just a couple more pictures. And if you are wondering at all how these volunteer educators who are scientists, engineers, admin in their actual jobs, how they're able to teach these activities, on the right-hand side here, we do have a picture of our annual astronomy educator workshop. So every January, we like to bring in the Department of Education, maybe a few other guest speakers, to really get our volunteer educators to think about how they can portray their science in a short amount of time to different grade levels. Okay, and here we are going to talk a little bit about how did this all get started 18 years ago. Peter, go ahead.
Thanks, Alyssa. 18 years ago, we first had this conversation about bringing a new program called Journey Through the Universe from the National Center of Space Science Education. Had NASA funding, and there were 13 sites across the nation that were participating in Journey, and we became one of them. And so we made a 5-year commitment to the program to continue to bring the community in Hawaii, Journey Through the Universe. And surprise, surprise, in the second year, the national program had its funding cut. And however, we had so much inertia, so much great things, so many great things were happening with our program in Hawaii that we just couldn't let it go. So we kept the program going, kept the spirit of the program going to bring STEM professionals from the observatories and beyond. We actually get some folks from the mainland coming in from NASA and other sites to participate in the program and go into the classrooms and share what for us is our passion for astronomy and science, and get kids excited about it too. And one of our goals in the end is to have more of our local students working at the observatory, maybe not when they're in 5th grade, but when they get a little older. And so we want to inspire our youth to participate in any way they can with what we're doing in our exploration of the universe.
Thank you, Peter. Okay, and yes, just as Peter mentioned, our Journey team is so much more than just our local community. We have people fly in from different parts of the mainland, from different universities, and from NASA to come to this island, to Hawaii Island, to teach our students about astronomy, not just on Mauna Kea, but across the world. And so here we have just a few members of our Journey team. We will show you a more complete list at the end of my slides. But starting with a very important partner who will speak in just a little bit, we of course thank our Department of Education. Then there's NOIRLab's Gemini Observatory, the Mauna Kea Observatories, and our Hawaii Island business communities consisting of the Hawaii Island Chamber of Commerce and the Japanese Chamber of Commerce and Industry in Hawaii, and the NASA and other educational facilities as well. Okay, now Journey 2021, of course, will look a bit different than previous journeys have. We will miss our in-classroom visits and our community ambassadors. So instead of physically being in the classroom this year, we will be hosting virtual live classroom visits, and we're working very closely with the Department of Education to make sure that those go smoothly and are safe and engaging for all of our students. And our community ambassadors are usually members of the local business community or retired teachers or even other staff members of the observatories, but it's anyone from the island community who wants to go into the classroom with our volunteer presenters and sort of introduce them to the kids and be that liaison between, say, our presenter is from NASA, from a different part of the US, or is even from another country. They're there to help them make them feel comfortable with this classroom and this new environment. And so because we won't have those proponents of Journey this year, we do have a lot of other really exciting things going on. So as I said before, we will have our live virtual classroom visits, and we'll also be providing career panels to not just high schoolers, but to elementary school children as well. So we are preparing all of our volunteer presenters to be able to speak about their jobs so that our students are really aware of the variety of jobs that are offered at an observatory, because you don't have to be an astronomer to work in an observatory, which myself, Peter, and Jamika, and even Angelique can all vouch for. So there's really a lot of different career opportunities in the field of science and technology and astronomy. In addition to the career panels, we are also asking our presenters for pre-recorded grade level appropriate presentations. So if a time slot doesn't work out for a school or a presenter, they will still be participating and providing educational resources to our students. And we also still have 2 of our major Journey events happening this year, despite it all being virtual. So we will have our Hawaii Island and Japanese Chamber of Commerce hosting a virtual thank you event on March 1st. This is a unique opportunity for astronomy community to meet the Department of Education and local business community. So as you can see in this photo, it's really a gathering of all these different parts of our community and, communities who are visiting to get to know each other and to really connect over this common goal of wanting to educate our students. In addition to this event on March 1st, on March 3rd, we will have a public event streaming live here to our YouTube channel, and this will focus on the next decade of ground-based astronomy. The presentation will be given by Lars Lindberg Christensen and will be followed by stargazing from Arizona and Hawaii. Our local radio stations will also be emceeing the event, so it should be really fun. Please look out for advertisements on that in our NOIRLab social media channels. And finally, we want to recognize our volunteer astronomy educators for this year. Here is a great big poster of them that you can find on the NOIRLab website. And if we zoom in a little bit more, here's all of their lovely faces that you will probably see in some of the videos on our YouTube channel much later. But we just want to say mahalo to all of these people and to all of you watching right now, because Journey Through the Universe would not happen without our presenters and without our supporters from the various communities across the world. And of course, here is our sort of sponsor page that shows all the different organizations who participate and journey through the universe in some way. So mahalo to all of you, our Journey community. Okay, and now we are at our time for questions. So if you're familiar with Live from NOIRLab, previously we would field your questions at any time, but now we have a set Q&A time. So here's your time to ask any question you'd like about Journey Through the Universe, and Jamika will read them aloud.
Yes, we definitely have some questions, Alyssa. So in the YouTube chat, we have a question from, first of all, Liz Fleming. She says, aloha from Memphis. And so her question is, she has two questions. Her first one is, how can I have a virtual speaker for my kindergarten class? Now, I'm not sure if she's referring to a virtual speaker for Journey Through the Universe, if she hasn't signed up for it yet, or if just in general, our Live from NOIRLab programs, how can she request a virtual speaker for her kindergarten class?
Mahalo, Jamika. All right, great question, Liz. Thanks for joining us today. How can you get a speaker? So Journey Through the Universe right now is Hawaii Island focused. So during Journey Week, we are presenting primarily to Hawaii Island teachers and really working with our local Department of Education to ensure that we are reaching as many teachers, if not all of them, on this island. But NOIRLab does offer other separate presentations catered to you in your classroom. So if you visit our website, there should be a few different contacts there that you can email to see if anyone is available to present a little something to your class about really any astronomy topic. We are very good at finding presenters to talk to you about what you need for your classroom and for your grade level. And as Jamika mentioned, we also offer Live from NOIRLab, so a similar presentation to this for classrooms specifically. So there's a whole bunch of options to choose from. And I think Jamika can also maybe link to our events or education tabs from our website.
Yes, thank you, Alyssa. I did just drop the link to our education portion of the NOIRLab webpage in the YouTube chat, so please check that out. And also a follow-up question, Alyssa, and this is to all of our guests today. Please feel free to touch on this topic, but it's a broad question that I'm sure other people have too. But this is in reference to an urban classroom setting. How can we best, and so that's the second question from Liz Fleming in our YouTube audience, how can we best promote STEM in urban classrooms? So again, with Journey as the lens, Alyssa, maybe you can explain to Liz how this could apply in a larger setting in an urban environment.
Okay, fun question. I will take a whack at it, but hopefully someone else will provide an answer as well of what they think. So of course, Hawaii Island is a fairly rural area, and we're very blessed to have so many different parts of this island that are great for different areas of science. So, we have an active volcano. We have almost all of the different climate zones in the world on this island. And so we kind of have our own science lab outside of our doors. And this really provides our students with a great way to learn from the land, play space education, and get outside and get their hands dirty, right? And I understand that in very urban areas, you might not have the same opportunities. But what I would encourage is to find any local science organizations or museums that might exist in your area and ask them what they can do for you, because as you can see from Journey Through the Universe, this really is a community partnership that we have as an observatory gone to others to help us bring education to students. So it's all about working together as a community and finding those partnerships that are available. I think Peter Michaud has another answer as well.
Yeah, thanks, Alyssa. Thanks for the excellent questions. Yeah, if you also keep an eye out, NOIRLab is a very young organization, and we're just now looking at our national programming and how we can support teachers and classrooms throughout the nation and internationally as well. Already we have a lot of videos that are relevant and useful. I don't know what grade level you're talking about here, but we have a program called Teen Astronomy Cafe, which we're currently adapting for virtual delivery nationwide. Another one that is a lot of fun for to take part in is a program called Globe at Night. And we're just starting every month. We have a new campaign to have students and the public go out and measure, you can do it with your cell phone, go out and measure the brightness of the sky. And with that program, we're tracking light pollution and people's ability to see the night sky from urban areas. And so that's a really good program to participate in citizen science and making observations and providing real data that we can use to track light pollution and issues related to that.
Thank you for bringing that up, Peter. I was going to mention that at the very end, because today actually is the beginning of the February Globe at Night campaign. It starts February 3rd and goes, I believe, to the 13th. I did just drop a link to the Globe at Night page in the YouTube chat, so please check that out. Excellent, thank you.
Jamika, sorry for spoiling your announcement.
Oh, it was perfect. It went perfectly right here in this spot, Peter. But I will mention it again just in case someone joins us later.
Okay, thank you for the questions. I think we're now ready to move on to our next segment of this show. So please allow me to introduce Esther Kanehailua one more time. She is our superintendent for the Hilo Waiakea complex area. And we are so happy that she could join us today and talk a little bit about the partnership of the Department of Education with the Journey Through the Universe program.
Hi, Alyssa. Thank you. So just wanted to follow up and share a little bit more from the department's perspective about our partnership with Journey for 17 years. And that is a really long time and a testament to the partnership and how it's grown with NOIRLab Gemini. And it really is because of the generosity of all of our partners and the dedication and commitment from Gemini, as well as our chambers here locally and the ambassadors and astronomy educators. And I can't say enough about, the ambassadors being just people in our community who come out and support because they believe in public education and supporting public education, and they believe in opportunities for our students that are on island, and kind of just sharing that hospitality with those astronomers in the science community that come to Hilo during that time. So, Janice is really like such a driving force behind all of this, super passionate about this opportunity for students on Hawaii Island and with our complex. So we feel like, it's a partnership, but it's not a really equal partnership because you guys do all of the heavy lifting and have really extended yourselves to supporting our students in the Hilo Waiakea complex, and that's 13 schools. And we think about how many students have had the opportunity to experience Journey from kindergarten all the way to 12th grade. And when I think about last year and we had our in-person, visits, and we had the astronomy educator workshop, sorry, and I'm going to keep talking and I'm going to forget to advance slides. So I'm going to try and do that right now. The focus was really that the astronomy community, the scientists bring a perspective that really is one that we want to embrace as educators. And I love this slide from last year that Marissa, our resource teacher, Sarah Nakoba, our school renewal specialist, shared as part of that training last year, that learning is experience, everything else is just information. And it really, to me, captures what Journey is for our students. And it is that opportunity to make science accessible. And I think when you think about traditional K through 12 education, it's not until high school that kids really get into exploration of sciences a lot more, and even from the middle school, right? From intermediate, middle, on to high school. But prior to that, they may not have that much exposure, but through this partnership, our teachers have benefited from the expertise that they bring. I mean, it's just mind-boggling the kind of stuff that our kids are exposed to and can experience. That is just, it's cutting edge. And I think for our teachers, it really is looking at things differently when we've traditionally focused on discrete skills, and students wonder, why are we learning this? And it's in isolation. And we've really had to, with the next generation science standards, flip that and look at how the phenomena drive what we do. That will be the motivator for kids. And that is really what Journey has done for us, is made that accessible to our educators, to see that it's not limited to a textbook. It's not limited to a kit. You don't even need anything. It really is that questioning and inquiry that happens from the time we get up in the morning, just having kids ask questions about what do they want to learn or understand about the world around them, and thinking about living in Hawaii and just the beauty of our natural environment. There is so much self-discovery right here. And so having the scientists in our educator workshops, here's Janice and I last year, part of that workshop. And it really was fun to have them see, like, how do we make this accessible to kids and spark that interest? And I think, like the pictures you shared earlier, Alyssa, when you look at kids and you just look at their reactions, and I was fortunate enough to go to several of the schools, seeing kids, and these are more pictures of the educator workshop. And you guys are so far ahead of it, because we're just joking earlier, talking about Zoom and all of that. That was so foreign to us until we were forced into distance learning. But long before this, the science community was using it and really working worldwide, doing all of that. And we had several educators attend virtually in this training, and then some were in person, and it was a lot of fun. And them understanding how to relate. And I just love that they wanted to understand, how do I relate to a first grader? How do we relate to a 10th grader, right? How do we make this? I want to spark that interest. I want to make that connection. And I think the most important thing is that I want our students to see themselves in these scientists, these astronomers, that can be them. I was that kid in school, and there was somebody that triggered this for me, or inspired me, or made me think critically about something that I wanted to know, or challenged me in a way that pushed me. So I just hope that when they come into the schools, that they get as much out of it as our kids do and our teachers do. And here's more. I had the opportunity to go to several schools last year, and then just kind of observe, having the kids in classes, and you look at the kids here, I mean, everybody wants to volunteer, and understanding, like, wow, is that what heat does to something? And just really breaking down concepts for kids, and then the questions that come out of that. So several examples. And I went to Lanakila Learning Center, which is part of Hilo High School, and Brian Day from NASA has partnered with them for a long time. And he works with at-risk students. And you would never know sitting in there that these students are considered at risk. And Brian has wanted to continually work with those kids that he wants to connect with, so that they see him. They ask the most amazing questions. I mean, really thought-provoking questions, or wonderings, like, and I thought, this is amazing. And they were so engaged. And that's what it is, that accessibility. And I think the teacher standing on the side and helping with that sees, like, this is what they're doing. They're asking questions, it's the thinking, the being and doing that sometimes we are not, because we're thinking about discrete skills and concepts, when we really should be thinking, what's the driver? If I want to understand, earthquakes in Hawaii, then what are the skills, concepts, knowledge that I need to know to understand that, right? So it's just flipping that. And that really is the thinking that the scientists bring to the classroom. And so I can't say enough about what Journey has been as a partner to us. And when I think about all these kids, Olivia Murray, who was an intern with Gemini, and funny enough, Hilo is very small, right? Or Hawaii Island is small. So I was Olivia's principal at Ha'ahill. And then I was a vice principal at Waikea High before she graduated. And then I saw her mother in the airport about 2 years ago. And we were talking about Olivia. before she had graduated, she already had 2 offers in cybersecurity. And she was like, I was like, what a problem to have. But it all, just that interest grew where she was with Mr. Olive constantly at Waikea High School doing all kinds of stuff. But just how that interest, how we can foster that in our kids. And really our goal would be that they see so many opportunities for them right here on Hawaii Island. And last year, Daryl and I were very fortunate, Daryl, who's our school renewal specialist, to be hosted at Gemini. And it was right before COVID. And we really had a deeper understanding and appreciation of the opportunities for our kids that we're so limited in our view of the science community, and that we really have to expand that so that kids see like, these are all of the jobs that encompass or that, part of an astronomy community. It's not just the astronomer. There are so many other people that make up, this huge organization, and they're all needed because they provide an expertise in all these different areas. So when we got to see that and we saw how many of them are local Hawaii Island people, that was amazing. And it just, for me, reminds me of like, how are we creating and exposing kids early? And Journey is what has been a catalyst for all of that, exposing our kids and pushing us to look at how are we looking at opportunities from preschool through 20, talking about post high school for our students so that they can live here and remain on Hawaii Island. So I can't say enough about the partnership. I'm trying to look at my notes and see what else I'm missing, but it just has been awesome that these scientists will give of themselves and their expertise to our students. And the fact that they touch so many lives, and those kids are going to be inspired and remember something that, that drove my interest, or a teacher who says, thank you for expanding the opportunities to Journey through other educator workshops, that I can see how I can use phenomena to drive what I do every day. So thank you again. Thanks for the partnership.
Okay, mahalo, Esther. Now it's time for a few more questions or comments from our YouTube chat and Jamaica before we hear from one of our astronomy educators, Angelique Evers.
Okay, yes. First of all, thank you so much, Superintendent, for being here with us. First, let me say we have Janice Harvey in the YouTube chat with us. As Alyssa said earlier, she was initially going to be on the program with us, so it was unable to join us because she has not feeling well. It has throat issues and has lost her voice, but she can type. And so here in the audience, in the YouTube chat, Janice says, I so wish I could be there with you all. I've lost my voice today. I thank you all for all who are presenting. And she says, Superintendent, what a fabulous expression to what Journey means to all of us. So thank you for that, Janice. And I'll let you comment if you have a comment, Esther.
Oh, thanks to Janice. That's hilarious. I can imagine this must be killing her because she's so passionate. I tell you, if you're around Janice, you can't, she's infectious, right? And it is that her love for the students in the community, her love and passion for connecting them to our astronomers and finding, everything possible. When we, just sitting with her, we started talking about things, more internships, more visits. How do we do this? How do we do that? She's always open because she believes that they're true partners. You guys have always been true partners in our community. And I think, and it is about that our kids see themselves there, that is their future, that they can be part of that in whatever way, shape, or form. So Janice, thank you so much.
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you so much. That was a fantastic follow-up to what Janice was saying and sharing here in the chat. We also have a comment by Paula. Paula says, that this looks, she's looking at your pictures that you were sharing as you were talking, and just at how engaging and fun actually they look. And that is one of the things we want to get across, that yes, this is fun. This is a fun program for everyone, not just the students, but hopefully for the teachers who are supporting our astronomy educators, who are also the astronomy educators, but for everyone around, parents who may just be observing. And so, yes, I commented to her that that is the way we keep the kids engaged. Our educators are putting in a lot of time and effort into these activities. And then lastly, we have another comment from Liz Fleming. She says, has the interest, and I think you've actually, Superintendent, really just spoke to this already, but I'll repeat it here. Has the interest in STEM increased locally with your mid and high schools, students who participated in this program?
I would say so. You know, I think what it's done to, I think for even our female students in STEM education, to see so many women, I mean, I think we don't have to even overtly say it, but they see that, you know, just thinking about the Journey poster, right? And all of the educators that come in, it's pretty amazing. And when I think about distance learning right now, it really is, I think we've been asking the questions, trying to utilize home environments or the outdoor environment that use that. You know, what questions do kids have? What questions do they have about COVID? What questions do they have about, you know, whatever it is around them, but utilizing that. And I think it really changes it, that we are looking at kids as they have all this knowledge, not that we are the dispensers of it. They have the questions they want answered. We don't have to answer them. Let them ask the questions. And it really is getting into the practice of that, letting them ask the questions. And so I think what it has done is just force us as educators to relook at the way we approach things, that we don't have to be the sage on the stage. We hear that all the time, that we are asking kids, you tell us what you want to find out. And they're seeing these people like, wow, they have careers and they do like fun stuff, like interesting stuff. And I have the same questions, you know, or I have really different questions, and it's valuing that. So yeah, definitely.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Liz from Memphis, Tennessee, I hope that was a good answer to your question. And we have Janice in the chat saying, thank you so much to everyone here. Okay, so I think that's all the questions we have for Esther. And so we are ready for our next speaker.
Okay, great. So of course, next we have Angelique Ebers, one of our astronomy educators. I do want to mention one moment before we switch over that a few years ago now, we actually had done a professional evaluation of Journey Through the Universe and classroom visits. And they had found that, you know, I think we're pretty lucky in this area that a lot of our students already had a good amount of interest in astronomy and STEM, which, you know, might have come from the previous 17 years of Journey Through the Universe. But even with their already high interest, their interest in it increased even more. And not just in astronomy, but in various other parts of STEM as well. So just to answer that question a little bit, and now of course, Angelique, please take it away. We can't wait to hear from you and the things that you do in the classroom.
Thank you very much, Alyssa. Let me start sharing my screen. All right. So I'm going to share a little bit today about my experience as a classroom educator, and maybe some advice on what I've learned through doing outreach into the classrooms. So I have been participating in Journey for about 15 years as an astronomy educator, though I will admit I started doing outreach earlier during my university days as a volunteer there. The most important aspects of engaging with the students is being accessible and open, being a real person, a whole person with flaws and good and bad and interesting backgrounds, and no different from them, no idealized person on a pedestal, but just an ordinary person with passions and interests. And I know I've been successful when I start getting questions and interest, and they feel like I'm just an auntie that they can ask questions rather than somebody that they have to kind of be quiet around. I love good questions, and I love seeing what kind of answers they might come up with if I don't give the answer right away. So encouraging exploration and inquiry. And I strive to connect concepts, problems, physical analysis to real examples and problems so that they can see how they have seen this concept in their own life. So a brief intro, a little bit about me. I often share this slide with my classrooms, trying to give them a feel. I have very diverse background. I come from Canada. I train dogs. I love skiing. Since coming to Hawaii, I've learned to scuba dive and free dive, and a picture of my husband thrown in. Just gives a broad perspective. I also like to share some pictures about where I work. I work for Gemini Observatory, and we have a tremendous crew of technicians and engineers, as well as scientists, astronomers, and other support staff all working together. And these are a few pictures that show the kinds of teamwork that happen at the summit, different people working together on big engineering projects. So classroom activities, I've developed a variety, always striving for hands-on activities to present. And I'm going to give a sampling of 3 of the classroom presentations that I've worked up. I should mention that these really are not my unique activities. I've found these online. I've tweaked and improved, but nothing is particularly my own creation, though I do try to expand on them a little bit. So the first one I want to talk about is the Lighthouse. And the Lighthouse is a bit of a linear lesson plan. It's one of the first ones I worked out for Journey many years ago. And it's an experimental exploration of optic concepts. Okay, so every group of students in this class has a simple little experimental setup in front of them, a light box with a variety of components. And we explore reflection, refraction, lensing, and it leads to a basic understanding of telescope optics, right down to making a model of a Galileo scope, a simple objective and eyepiece lens. Okay, so one sample from this lesson is when we're talking about refraction, or seeing how light moves through mediums with a different density. And so we will set up this experiment in front of them and ask, what's happening to these light rays as they travel through the ruler? Can you see something happening, and can you explain what is different from, say, a light ray coming through the ruler here and one coming through the ruler here? And we'll talk about this and explore it, and they'll turn the ruler. And this is one way I can often help them to understand what they're looking at. And we'll explore questions about how the light bends, why would one bend more than the other? And after experimentally looking at it, I'll take some time to work through the math and talk about what is refraction, and can you see how light sort of slow down and bends as it changes from one medium to the other? And even if we don't work out the actual numbers, just intuitively, you can get a bit of a feel for how light's behaving traveling through a medium. I find it important to connect the math and the analysis to the physical concepts, because it sets up for how we work with these concepts going forwards in further education. So at that point, after talking about a concept, exploring it with the students until it sort of makes sense, then we want to talk about what are some real world examples. Have you seen this effect? And one of my favorite examples for refraction that's very well known locally would be if you're standing at the shore and you're looking down at some fish in some really clear water. Are they where it looks like they are? Are they, if you were to aim, if you were spear hunting and you aim at them, would you actually encounter the fish where it looks like it is? And most students locally would say, no, miss, no, it wouldn't. So they understand this without having ever done the math, but connecting it to that real experience is very powerful. And I would really hope that next time they're near the water, they're going to start moving around and thinking about that. The pencil in a glass of water is a famous example. I'm really fascinated and love giving demonstrations of total internal refraction and talking a bit about fiber optics as another application of refraction. It turns out our experimental setup, we can use a laser pointer and these rulers that we use in the setup, and we can get that laser pointer to refract back and forth down the ruler and demonstrate fiber optics. So this is just a classroom shot taken some time back of us working on the lensing part of this lab and measuring the focal distance for different types of lenses. So that's the Lighthouse. Another great activity that I like to do is exploring engineering and the engineering design process. I come from a dual background, having both undergraduate education in astronomy and in computer science. So I'm both an engineer and an astronomer or physicist. And engineering is very different from physics to bring as a problem in the classroom. And I've learned to do this by connecting arts and crafts, hands-on creation with solving problems. So using the engineering design process for the zip line, I set up a zip line in the front of the classroom and give them a problem, very limited ingredients and a budget, materials and a budget, and ask them to design a solution. And the majority of the class is trying that solution experimentally, seeing what works and doesn't, and optimizing and improving the solution that they're developing. So here's a bit about how I would present this to the class. I'll give them a budget. In the most recent version, they had a $10 budget, and this was the list of materials available to be used. And the challenge was to create something to carry a ping pong ball safely down the zip line and do it within a certain time limit. And a few random examples of the kinds of creations students come up with. Interesting concepts that I'll discuss in this lab are balance, friction between what's touching the zip line, how your craft balances down the zip line, what makes it go faster, what makes it go slower, the impact of weight, force analysis. It's a really fun lab to work through. So the final example I wanted to touch on is what I call a make and take, a craft activity where we make something that they can take home and share with their family and friends. And this one is a pyramid hologram. And it's a small device that we can put on a phone. And I wish I had an example in front of me, but it's with all of my journey materials in a storage room in the office, which I haven't been in since March because of working from home. But they can take this and make this and take it home with them. And in the process of introducing this lab, I teach them about how the illusion works and explore the use of this type of illusion in various applications. And so this is what the pyramid hologram looks like. So it's a little pyramid that we can put on the phone. And by playing a video that has 4 images to match the 4 sides of the pyramid, it gives the illusion of a hologram floating over the phone. And this is a few ideas on how we make it. So where this illusion comes from, historically, I think the first well-known example is often called Pepper's Ghost. And this was in the early theater days. They found a way to make it appear as if a ghost was acting on stage together with live actors. And so if you can imagine, here would be an audience, and there's this pane of glass in front of them they shouldn't be observing. Through the pane of glass, they see the live actor, and reflected on the pane of glass, they see an actor being a ghost. And to them, it appears like the two are interacting together, but the ghost image is transparent and clearly not fully present in the room. And so this is sort of the origin of Pepper's Ghost and the same illusion that we're using. Another example that many students have seen but never fully understood how it worked is Disney's Haunted Mansion. And when you're in Disney's Haunted Mansion, you actually ride in a little buggy, and there's a plane of gas, and there are illusory images projected into the scene, both from below and above you, creating creating this effect like dancers, ghostly dancers, or people sitting at a table. It's fascinating that I studied and learned about Disney's Haunted Mansion and talked about it to the classroom, but actually finally visited Disneyland and actually went on this ride to see for myself what I had been talking about. And it was worth the more than an hour wait to get on that ride. It was a long wait. So here's a sort of a final analysis that really helps students understand how that virtual image is reflected off of the pyramid that they make and creates the virtual image. Okay, so to wrap up, the most important thing going into the classroom, and I think I'm echoing some things that have already been said, is to be a role model, to be a person that's fascinated by the world around us, that asks questions, that's interested about what's going on, and that can show that anybody who has a passion, works hard, pursues what interests them can accomplish anything. Math is an important tool and is really fun, not something to be avoided, but rather something to be embraced. And it's really important for students that haven't seen this before to see the kinds of career options that are available to them locally. Not just being an astronomer, but potentially, I think as was mentioned, IT or cybersecurity, being outreach, being an engineer, being a technician. There are many, many jobs and interesting paths that are available locally through working in the observatories. So that is a wrap on my presentation.
Mahalo, Angelique. All right, Jamika, anything in our YouTube audience?
All right, so no questions or comments in our YouTube audience just yet after Angelique's presentation. So I will pose one because I have really enjoyed working with Angelique. And so the Lighthouse activity we were doing with the teachers, I think we were potentially going to do it. And I'm not sure if I ended up working with them or not, but I was going to borrow it from Angelique, and I appreciated you explaining how it worked. I had not had any engineering classes, and so to be able to understand just on a basic level how the activity was supposed to work was really thrilling for me as a person who was going to be demonstrating it, right? It made me feel confident. So certainly, Angelique, we know that your audience with our students is huge. Your presence is huge. And you're right about being a role model. Of course, all of us, everyone on the panel are role models, but especially it is nice to see the range of role models and the range of activities and professions that we can have to contribute to the overall success of any observatory.
Well, I think something else that I will say about Angelique's presentations, I know you mentioned, Angelique, that maybe you didn't necessarily come up with some of those presentations on your own. I do think that in addition to having your own unique spin on the activities, I have gotten to see Angelique do multiple activities to like all ages of audiences, from 5th grade girls to adults, you know, and everyone is always mind blown. And I think part of what Angelique does so well, which ties in very nicely to the next generation science standards, is really setting up the activity and what you start with to begin the whole presentation, which is that part of inquiry of inspiring the students, right? So I think from the classroom that I had seen you present to, first you introduced the hologram activity with the Pepper's Ghost demonstration, right? And kind of blow their mind with, is that actually an image there? And they sort of reach in to see if it is. And then move on to, okay, what are the physics behind this phenomena that you just saw yourself? And then how can you actually recreate that phenomena with something as easy as a cell phone and some malleable plastic?
Thank you. You know, the hologram, I should share an anecdote about that. The inspiration came from Nick. He is actually one of our support staff at Gemini. And he came by and showed me that he had created a hologram projector based on instructions he found online out of CD cases for his son. And I was like, that is amazing. Oh, that is so cool. I need one. I need to make one. And I was so fascinated by it that I went and researched it. And I went and told Nick, I really want to use this in classrooms. Can I? And he's like, oh, no, go ahead. So I researched it, and working with CD cases was a little hard to do in the classroom. So I found alternative ways to do it. But yeah, that absolutely came from Nick Clow. Yeah.
Yay. Well, that leads directly, easily into this next question, which is Liz Fleming wanted to know, and I'm sure others in the audience too who are educators, even just parents who are interested in these awesome resources, where could we find some of the activities that you're talking about, Angelique?
I find them all online. I have a folder, a Google folder of all of the activities that I've worked up into presentations. And I basically just share this with every teacher's classroom I visit or anyone that asks. So share my email, send me an email and I'll share the folder. And it also will include links to various places on the internet that I found some of the background materials that I use to generate my presentations that I've worked up. So the Lighthouse, for example, is based on an Agilent educational kit, and it's a company that produced those. And I managed to pick up a bunch of them heavily subsidized by SWEDE, the Society of Women Engineers, that was working to promote outreach activities and help me to buy those. Yeah.
Fantastic, Angelique. I will definitely share that email. And so anyone else in the chat right now, if you're interested, let me know. I'll drop that email. Thank you so much, Angelique, for being willing to share those resources, because those tools are key, especially to someone like Liz in an urban environment who may not have access to things like that. So thank you. And thank you everyone who is in the YouTube audience. Alyssa, I know we just have like 3 minutes, so we have a few more comments. Can I mention them? Okay, so we have another big thank you from Janice Harvey to everyone, and of course also Angelique, since you just got finished speaking. Thank you from Janice. We also have a comment from Julian Lossi. Question for Angelique: how will you adapt to an online presentation this year to keep the kids engaged?
That is an excellent question, and it's one I've struggled with a great deal this year. So much of what I do is hands-on and having something in front, and I have to admit I haven't fully solved it, and I don't know if I'll manage to. I'm under a lot of pressure right now for some big projects at work, and I have not managed to work out a good solution. I might not be impressing anyone this year.
I'll just jump in quickly here to mention some of the other things that other presenters are doing to try to keep students engaged. So I myself will be presenting at least once to kindergartners through 2nd grade. And so something that's really important to me is connecting Hawaiian astronomy and Hawaiian cultural knowledge with more of the astronomy that we learn from the Mauna Kea observatories these days. And so what I'm going to be talking about is constellation stories from around the world. We're going to do a little kiki hula with just our hands about the Makali'i constellation, or the Pleiades. So we have great pictures of the Pleiades from different telescopes of NOIRLab that really show what exactly the star cluster is. But then we're also going to be learning some of that more older traditional knowledge of what it can tell us about our environment and the time of year when it is in the sky. So I'm excited to do that. I know Jamaica knows what she's going to be presenting for Journey this year.
Yes, definitely. So last year for Journey, I talked about telescope parts. I had just I was gifted this amazing 4-inch refractor for my birthday last year. And so my birthday is the week of Journey. And so I took her in and we were talking about telescope parts. And so this year it will be a continuation of that in talking about setup. And I was also gifted very generously an amazing CCD camera to go with her. So I'll be bringing those to the class, to my virtual classroom presentation this year.
Okay, and I think that just about that brings us to the end of our time, which is why Jamaica was speaking so fast. I think she was trying to get her answer in there before the time's up. And so we just want to, of course, say mahalo to all of our presenters that were here today. Janice, we wish you could have been here with us. We're so glad you could join us in the audience. Mahalo to all of our viewers and everyone who has ever supported Journey Through the Universe. And if you want to support it next year, you know, maybe Esther can comment on this a little bit. We hope that this program will continue for forever, for all time, through the universe, right? So mahalo to everyone. And if you have any last comments, please feel free.
I'd like to say thank you for everyone in the audience for joining us today. And just a quick reminder, as Peter brought up earlier, the Globe at Night observation program for February begins today, February 3rd, goes to the 13th. You can find more information on the NOIRLab website.
Okay, I think that ends our show. We'll see you guys again next week for another Live from NOIRLab.